Welcome back to the City Current Radio Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're honored to be with our good friend. He is the executive editor for the Commercial Appeal, part of the USA Today network. We're talking about Mark Russell. And Mark, you are a longtime City Current partner. We greatly appreciate your support to help us power the good. So you do a lot of good on the personal side, the professional side, but let's talk about you and your story. Give us a little bit of your personal story coming to Memphis. Let's start there.
Sure. Jeremy, thanks again for having me. I appreciate you and I appreciate everything cityCURRENT does, and I appreciate this platform. I came to Memphis approximately 7.5 years ago from Orlando, Florida. I was recruited in, of course, to become the managing editor for the Commercial Appeal, which at the time, I was happy to be here because I had been in Orlando for about 9.5 years and was in transition between jobs there, and had been in Cleveland before that, and in Boston and Pittsburgh. So I was happy to be closer to my hometown, which is St. Louis, just 4 hours away. I like to say that small town up north, St. Louis, near my family, my friends, and just been happy to be here. It's been a great ride. This is a tremendous news market, as you well know. I think it's a great place to live and work. People are very generous, and both in spirit and giving and in their time, because they really helped me get to know this community when I first got here. I became managing editor for the Commercial Appeal, not having any associations with Memphis, not having any good friends. I didn't have any friends, period. So imagine being responsible for news coverage in a community. You don't even know the community. So it was a daunting challenge to come here, but I'm happy to say I passed that litmus test, and I've been loving it ever since.
Well, one of the things that I love about you is right from the start, you personally participated in like nonprofit tours, every event. You have an open door policy saying, hey, reach out and let's see what we can do to share stories together and collaborate and work together. So the open door policy, but your curiosity and wanting to step in and embrace the community, I think is a big piece of just who you are, but also too, when you talk about the success of collaboration, that's a big piece of this. So talk about on your end some of the big changes, because the news industry overall is going through a lot of changes, especially around technology, the pandemic. Give us kind of what's on your radar with all these things in flux right now.
Sure. First, I'll just pick up on something you said about the community collaboration. And when I got to town, why I became so enamored with this community and getting involved with nonprofits and learning about the community, taking tours. One, I had no choice. I didn't know the community, so I wanted to learn it very quickly. And two, that's always been in my makeup, whether I was in Orlando, Florida, Cleveland, or Boston. I've always been a person that wanted to get to know the community from the grassroots level up, not from the top down. And I think that's what makes me who I am as an editor. And you're right about the business itself. Even pre-pandemic, the news business was, shall we say, a challenging business to be in. And I think the pandemic has both illustrated some of those challenges, but also given us a window of opportunity to grow and to become more valuable to our consumers and to our readers. And that's been illustrated this past year, especially with the national reckoning on race, with the coronavirus, COVID-19 pandemic, as well as the national and local elections this past year. It's been a very rewarding year for us as a business, but it was one not without challenges, and the challenges are still underfoot even as I speak. We're not out of that. And I'm not sure we'll ever be out of it completely, because the news business has changed so drastically as people get the information. I mean, this is an example right here. 10 years ago, who would have ever thought to say, let's do a Zoom call instead of an actual call or an in-person call? And that's how one of the ways our business has changed, is that so much of what we do now is a digital-based business, some digital platform. It's how we connect with people. It's how we sell our wares. It's how people connect with our content on a daily basis. Our digital subscriber base is growing. We want it to continue to grow. So it's been a challenge, but a good one. I think it's what makes our business special right now.
One of the things that you and I have talked about in the past is now with the digital platform, your team is basically writing and updating stories on a regular basis. So now you have a chance to go in and almost in real time update stories before it even goes to print. And so in many cases, you're seeing an evolution of a story, and then all of a sudden the print is kind of the next piece of it.
Yes.
Talk about that major transition, because I think that just as a storyteller, that's a big transition.
It is a big transition. We've been going through it now for several years. So I like to think of it this way, that we publish all day long on our digital platform. We send out links via Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. We have a digital edition we put out. We have an app we use. Our website is where everything happens, where you get video, where you get photographs, where you get a constantly evolving stream of stories. And at the end of the day, we then stop and publish a print edition for the next morning that is an approximation of what might have happened yesterday, but it also is a compendium of stories that add context and meaning to what's going on. So give you a good example, both Saturday and Sunday of this past week, we're taping on, of course, on a Monday, the 1st of March. And last weekend, our paper edition, Saturday and Sunday, had a bunch of stories about the Shelby County vaccination mess. I'll just call it that. That's what it is. This is a vaccination mess. And we tried to add context on what happened, how it happened, and what it means. And that's what we do best in our print edition, so we can pause and give people greater context and more meaning about what happens. While on the web, you can get a stream of stories that show you the evolution of that story, as you mentioned earlier, because we're constantly updating that story throughout the day. I'm not sure, as a reporter, I would have enjoyed and loved the fact that the story can change 4 and 5 times, sometimes in 1 hour. I would have probably some days pulled whatever little hair I have left out if that was happening. But the good thing about it for a reader and a subscriber is that you're constantly getting updated information on our website. While in the print edition, you've got that lean back experience where you can sit back and you can get caught up from a contextual standpoint on what a story means. And you can also see stories from throughout the nation as we pull together a national report as well that you won't get necessarily online. Online is going to be deeper on local, whereas when you go onto the print edition, you'll get a page or so, maybe a page and a half of national news as well.
Give us a little bit of perspective. The Commercial Appeal has a long legacy here in the Mid-South. Give us a little history on that as a kind of a teaser.
Sure.
Most importantly, talk about the way you're set up, the structure, because I want to dive into how people can kind of reach out to different people for story ideas and things like that. But
Sure.
Talk about the legacy of the Commercial Appeal.
So it's good reason. I'm glad you asked that question today, because this year we're celebrating our 180th anniversary. I'll repeat that. We are 180 years old this year. We are one of the oldest continuous businesses in the Memphis area, and we're very proud of that. We're very proud of that because we've got staying power and we have been around for a long time. We've seen the yellow fever epidemic. We've seen a whole range of things. You can imagine what we've seen as an institution in Memphis in all those years. But if you're bringing up to date, what we're seeing now is we're seeing a marketplace that's really interested in content and really interested in storytelling, and they're getting in a variety of ways. You mentioned a print edition. We still got a very robust print audience, but the audience is growing for us, quite frankly, is our digital audience. And our digital subscribers are growing. Our readers who attach to our content and get it through the e-edition, electronic edition, is also growing. And it's something that we're really pushing for readers, prospective readers especially, to engage with our content that way. We offer real value for folks who want to subscribe to the CA. You can get, for example, an annual subscription to the CA for as low as $39.99, $40 for the year. There's some other deals out there as well. I won't go into great detail on this. You can find them if you go to commercialappeal.com and click on the subscribe tab. Kind of shameless plug right there, but we have some great deals right now. And I think for people who want to support local journalism, who both admire and appreciate the work we're doing, that's a way to support us by getting a digital subscription. It's a low cost compared to what you get.
Absolutely. And I think when you look at the business of being able to report the news, it takes talent, it takes money to hire the team. And when you look at being able to support the team and support local journalism, that's exactly what you're talking about. And the importance of that, so that you have credible journalists going out there and telling these stories, to be able to support it. But to your point, to access that digitally is a huge advantage on both sides, but for our community as a whole, for sure.
To your point, Jeremy, about the support for us and what you get in return for it, I'll give you a couple snapshots that we have a couple of folks at any given time who are following the Tigers and the Grizzlies, a columnist, as well as a reporter. And then a third person is a photographer for home games, is following the two teams. And we're sending them out to cover assignments in Tampa, Florida for the games against the University of South Florida. We're sending them to Cincinnati just this past weekend. We sent them there to cover that game. We're also sending them throughout the nation as a team prepares for a potential NCAA tournament matchup. And that all takes real money. It takes real money to send those folks out. They stay at real hotels, they eat real meals. And we're doing all that in support of our mission to provide the best journalism and the best coverage of the Tigers and the Grizzlies. And I'll give you a non-sports example. Just this recently, our coverage of the coronavirus and the vaccine rollout has been, for me, nothing short of compelling and really satisfaction for me and for what I think is doing for readers, because we're trying to do this in a way that adds context and meaning to what's going on. We're not just trying to cover the day-to-day news. It's kind of easy to do that because you have appointment viewing, you have press conferences, and you have press releases. But we're also trying to step back and explain what it means, how we got into this pickle, how we can get out of this pickle. We've got a columnist, Tanya Weathersby, who is trying to provide commentary from a level of 10,000 foot level and explain what's happening in the region and comparing it to other places throughout the nation to give you some context of what's happening here. We're not alone. If this didn't start here in Shelby County, although we've got to own what's happening here and we've got to fix it. So she's doing that kind of coverage. And that all takes time and money. And it's something that we're very proud to do. And we think it's important for this community to have it. We also think the community support us too as well. So we're not shameless about asking for that support.
So yeah, when you're talking about a complex story, it takes a lot of time and effort to get to multiple sources and do the interviews, get the data points, weave all the different storylines together. And so, these complex stories take a tremendous amount of time and effort to put together to then benefit the community.
And it's more complex, and I would say it's more complicated because of the pandemic. But I like to tell folks that while most of our staff, in fact, all of our staff, I'm the only one working in an office today just to talk to you. I'm the only one working from my home office or working remotely from an area, Panera's or some other coffee shop location. But even the reporters and photographers who work remotely are still going out every day to cover assignments. I've yet to find the photo assignment that can be done remotely. And I've been looking and I've been thinking about it. You can't do it. Reporters are going out covering stories on location. They're going to press conferences. They're going to see people. They're going out in the community to do what they've always done, to cover a Unity Walk, for example, in Whitehaven this Saturday. And then they're returning to a remote location to follow the story. But they're doing everything they would have done pre-pandemic to report the story. So we're out doing that reporting, which again takes time and money. And we're proud to do it for this community.
So I mentioned earlier about the open door policy, and you have been very generous with your time and efforts to really help individuals and organizations get their story in front of the right people. And so we had a chance to interview Ryan Poe recently, and he's one of the columnists and storytellers, and he's going on this new adventure to be able to dive in even deeper, sharing stories of individuals and organizations who are making a difference and doing amazing good in our community, which is awesome. But for those individuals and organizations who do have something that's newsworthy or a positive story to share, what advice would you give them for reaching out to you and your team and connecting those dots?
So the best way to reach people with the commercial appeal and to reach out on stories is to reach out directly to the reporter who most is our columnist, who is most aligned with the topic you're pitching a story about. So if you're pitching a story that is a general storytelling piece about Memphis, you mentioned Ryan Poe, he's a good contact. If it's a government-related story, a city-related story, that contact is Sam Hardiman, who is our City Hall government watchdog reporter. The county reporter is Catherine Burgess. The person who covers commercial real estate is Corinne Kennedy. Now, folks probably can't remember all these names, and they won't know from me mentioning those names how to reach those folks, but on our website, we have a list, sort of a how to contact us list on our website, where you can see all the folks I mentioned, plus many others. Also, I would say to people, and I really mean this, you can contact me directly. I mean, an editor in any newspaper is probably your best liaison to reach someone when you don't know who to reach. And I'm pretty good about returning phone calls, answering my own phone. I'm also good about, and I have my work number is actually, probably shouldn't say this publicly, but I will. My work number, because I'm not working in the office right now, is forwarded to my cell number. So my cell number is my work number for the time being. No one really knows that, but when they call me on the work phone, they get my cell number. But I also respond to emails. I have people contact me via Facebook Messenger, Twitter, Instagram, all kind of ways. I'm out there, and I'm out on social media for that reason, especially that I think people want to reach out to you in the way that's most comfortable for them. And some people don't want to send you emails. Some people want to hit you on a Twitter direct message or an Instagram message or even LinkedIn. I've occasionally been getting a lot of messages on LinkedIn, which I find interesting. So, and I look at that pretty often. People probably know that. So they hit me on LinkedIn too.
What sort of information do you like to have in an email or a DM that someone needs to include? So if they're reaching out and they say, hey, Mark, I've got this storyline, what information do they need to have in that email or DM?
I'll be very basic on that. If you can put together a 2 or 3 paragraph pitch for me or for any reporter or editor, that's a winning strategy. So in other words, don't send us the equivalent of a 2-page email. Pitch us on a single idea. If you can't say it in 2 or 3 paragraphs, you probably haven't thought it through enough to know what is the essence of the idea you're pitching. You should be able to do it in a 2 or 3 paragraph email and then follow up after that person gets the email. Give them a phone number or email address to follow up on. If you want to call us and say, hey, did you get me an email? It's fine to do that maybe 3 days later. Don't do it the same day. I mean, that's really all you're really doing when you do that is you're trying to say, I want to talk about this story. And we may not have had a chance to even read the email yet. So wait a couple of days, 3 days, then call us or email us and say, hey, I want to follow up on that email I sent you. And again, that might prompt us to look at it when you send the email, but that's the purpose of doing that is to wait a couple of days and then follow up. And I find that those 2 or 3 paragraph pitches work best.
What's something that you definitely want everyone to know about the commercial appeal? We've covered a lot of ground in terms of the history and legacy, and obviously the changes and the digital platform and subscriptions and the power of storytelling and supporting local journalism. But what's something else that you definitely want everyone to know about the commercial appeal?
So one thing I want people to know about the commercial appeal, and this is something that I think has been a kind of a misconception about us over the last few years. One, as we move from our longtime office near downtown into the heart of downtown, you think the opposite would have occurred, that people would have thought we were more committed to Memphis. I think the opposite occurred because we were leaving a long-time, 4-decade home in the heart of what I guess is now considered the Edge District into downtown. So people think we moved to Jackson, Tennessee, or we moved to Nashville, or we moved somewhere, but not Memphis. And the truth is that we've always been in Memphis. As far as I know, we'll always be in Memphis. And we have a staff of folks that wake up every morning in Memphis. They go and cover stories in Memphis. So our Memphis love is pretty high. And I think I need to get that point across to people that we're of Memphis, about Memphis, and for Memphis.
Absolutely. So wrap up with website, social media, contact information. Where do we go to learn more about the commercial appeal and subscriptions?
You can follow us a couple of different ways, but let me give you the one that probably is the most accessible, and that is to go to our website, www.commercialappeal.com. That is www.commercialappeal.com. On that site, you'll find all our content. And if you are a subscriber, you already know this, and you can get unlimited content, and then you're going to be amazed at what we're doing now. If you're not a subscriber, you can go to that site and then navigate to the subscribe tab on the page, and you'll see our best current offers to subscribe. And they're usually pretty good offers. Some of them are teaser rates for $1 for 3 months or 6 months, and then it reverts to the regular rate, which is $9.99 a month. But then we've also got some special rates of $39.99 per year. And I'm going to send you, Jeremy, that offer so you can pass on to your followers and the cityCURRENT partners, so they'll have a special offer that we have available because you're talking to me. And I think it's an important thing for the cityCURRENT members to have the best deal.
Well, Mark Russell, greatly appreciate you, your team, your passion for Memphis, and all you do. Also appreciate your longtime partnership and support of cityCURRENT. So thank you very much, and thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, and I appreciate all you're doing in the community. And we just want to acknowledge what you've done, because it's a community that's in need of more partnership, the kind of partnership that you push and that you propagate. Appreciate you.